A7s.
A7s.
A7s. And
And gobble, 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 gobble to you too, as it is the eve of gobbling turkeys, stuffing, mac and cheese, whatever your heart's desire. Welcome to episode 113 of The Other Side of the Ball. Double A and Corey Hammond with you here, and joining us as a special guest panelist this evening. Well, he owns all this stuff, so I mean he can come in as he damn well pleases. Mr. Derek Duncan. Gentlemen, how are we?
Good. Thankful that Dub is not got some kind of echo. Seems like the computer's only throwing jabs, not haymakers.
I'm actually on my phone.
Hey, whatever works. And we got Suge Light, aka Dat Dude, aka Mr. Reliable himself, Derek Duncan. He's calling himself a thick boy in our chat, but not eligible for tonight's list, gentlemen.
Now, before we get into the Thick Boys tribute, which is a offensive lineman on this particular episode, top seven. I would be remiss if I did not give Derek the opportunity to just give his few thoughts on the passing of Bobby, as we talked about last week. Of course, for those that didn't get the news, that known by many names, but Robert Paul, known as Bobby Salise, the owner and general manager of the Alienators that came to us in the fall brawl last week or a couple of weeks ago, passed away. So I would be remiss if I did not give Derek his chance to say a few words about Bobby. So, Derek, the floor is yours.
so, I'm sure most of you guys know who follow this group know that the majority of the posts that come from the A7FL Nevada page are penned by none other than me. So I put most of my thoughts into that because I had a really deep dive onto what my relationship was like with Bobby and kind of expressed it during that time. But for the viewers here and the fans that follow the Other Side of the Ball and the Other Side of the Ball network that wouldn't have had a chance to see that post, Bobby was a good dude, man. I didn't know him well, but every interaction I had with him was extremely positive. The guy was bringing just a ton of energy and great ideas to the league. He and I spoke about him getting involved at a deeper level and potentially taking over marketing of the division for us because he's just got some great marketing ideas and does a lot out there. I just found out a couple nights ago that Alonzo Thomas, Skip Thomas of the Raiders, Dr. Death's son, who's one of our coaches in the fall and winter season, was really, really close with Bobby. And probably next week, if the court pleases, or if it pleases the court, we'll probably do a little bit more of a tribute show to Bobby and let some guys that really know him well, players who actually played for him, guys who hung out with Bobby and know his backstory, get on and tell you guys a little bit more. I didn't know him all that well, but the time I had with him and the experiences I had with him were 100% positive. Dude just brought the energy every single time. He brought together an alienator team out of nowhere that competed in the fall with the big boys of the Vegas division. And for that and for his time and energy and friendship, I'll be forever grateful. The league owes him a debt of gratitude. And sorry to see him gone. He's out there in that big gridiron in the sky, higher than he's ever been before. And I'm sure he's not too upset about that.
No, he's with his mom and his sister, of course. He was a guest on this show multiple times. Obviously, talked about growing up in the town, in the city of Oakland, of course, where the connection with, as you just previously mentioned, the connection with Alonzo Thomas, of course, stems from that. So, very well said, and he is certainly in a better place and no longer suffering. All right, so on the eve of Thanksgiving, I think it is appropriate that we talk about the big boys that seal holes for the running backs or make holes for the running backs and protect the quarterback and protect the quarterback's blind side. And occasionally, sometimes, we even do also get big man with football. So this is the top 7 offensive linemen.
Hey, Doug, before we get rolling, would you mind if I just play this commercial so I can get it off our screen and get something cool up there?
Go ahead, by all means.
And away we go. Thank you to Matt Ryan.
This is league called the A7s.
A7s.
A7s. And it is tackle football, no pads. Give it 5 minutes tonight. Promise me that.
A7s.
A7s.
AJ, we need you on that A7FL squad.
Bro, I'm not. Those guys, they're tough as nails. You want to tackle him coming downhill?
No
Good
way.
luck.
No pads?
No way.
Register for A7FL Nevada Winter War at A7FLNV.com. Register by December 5th to lock in your spot. Winter is coming. Are you ready for war?
The floor is yours, Doug.
And our special thanks to our good buddy Matt Ryan for helping us out with that. And again, as he said, winter is coming on January the 5th. And if you do want to get yourself involved, that QR code that you see on that poster, scan it. It will take you to a7flnevada.com, and it will give you all the information you need to sign up, get on a team, and see if you have what it takes to be a part of this growing league that is the American Sevens Football League. Of course, we'll throw it off January the 5th of 2025.
Yeah, you think you got a lot of time, but January the 5th is approaching us fast. So do the thing. I called you guys out last week. Chris signed up. His wife vetoed it, so he's not scared. If you haven't done it yet, you either don't know how to use the QR code thing, which understandable, but you're probably really old at that point. But if you're young enough to know how to use the QR code, you haven't signed up yet. What are you, scared? Anyway, guys, I think that getting into a top 7
let's take it a step further. By signing up.
Go ahead. I can hear you.
Sorry. So by signing up, you are entitled to health insurance for the 2025 year for those who qualify. And almost everybody in our group would qualify unless they already have insurance of their own. So people have asked or have commented on several of the big hit platforms or videos that we have. Man, y'all better have health insurance. Now we're providing it free of charge. So if you don't have health insurance as a fan of the league and you are a football player, it would behoove you just to sign up to get health insurance for yourself. I mean, at the bare minimum, we're providing that. So take care of yourself, take care of your family.
Yeah, but don't step on that field unless you're ready to bring it. It's not winter. Yeah. It's not winter two-hand touch or winter flag. It's winter war. So just be prepared. Now,
it's not winter tiddlywinks.
It's not. It's not. And it's also not. It's not adult Pop Warner, that 37U that we were having that back and forth on the Nevada players page, which was so much fun. Zelly, what's up? He's going to interrupt what we're talking about. But listen, let's just jump right into the big boy conversation. No, I didn't. And we'll get back to you after the show. I think we could do what we normally do with these top 7s and do an honorable mention. But let's be honest. Thanksgiving is almost upon us, gentlemen. So in honor of those big guys, those thick boys,
and John
what are your favorite Thanksgiving sides?
Well, sticking with the O-line for breakfast, I like pancakes.
Okay. So you are completely changing the premise of the little stupid thing.
Oh, so you guys don't do a Thanksgiving breakfast in your house?
I mean, not.
Well, I normally
guess, but I don't count it as Thanksgiving.
I work on Thanksgiving, so like tomorrow's just like a normal Thursday for me, unfortunately.
That's beat. But if you have one thing that you can have as a side, you got the turkey, you got the gravy, everything's great. What is the one side that is a mandatory to have in honor of our big guys for an ideal Thanksgiving experience?
Southern mac and cheese, no question.
Yeah, Southern mac and cheese. Listen, give it to me.
Since
most days of the week. Go ahead.
Well, since Derek took mac and cheese, I'll just throw in yams.
No, we're not doing a sexual show, Dub. What are you really saying?
Yams. Okay.
I know what yams are. I know what yams.
Sweet potatoes with marshmallows.
Okay, hang on a second.
You'll be doing the whole marshmallow and tell me there's no raisins in there. I know.
Yeah,
half of you has the idea of putting raisins in salads and shit. So all right, you'll run by the other half when it comes to yams.
No, his other half is Mexican. His other half is not Karen. It's Mexican.
No.
That's fair. Chicken nuggets, really?
Hence why I'm a Blaxican that can't tan.
Oh, fucking wealth, man. The nuggets.
What does a Mexican?
He's like Chick-fil-A's open on Thursdays, bro. I'm good.
Yeah, make sure it's Polynesian sauce on the turkey itself.
Right.
Listen, hot take, stuffing, throw it in the fucking garbage. It's disgusting. Anybody that's really obsessed with it, good for you. You're allowed to live your life and die on that hill. But that hill is a disgusting pile of moldy, stale bread with rosemary seasoning that you should have just put on the turkey to make the turkey.
Why does he have to die? Why is he going to die?
No, I'm saying the argument, die on that hill. I'm against stuffing. Don't do the stuffing.
You got to go out to Vegas next Thanksgiving. Or how about this? I will save you a side, freeze it, and set it up there. And you have to tell me that you don't love the stuffing that we make around this joint.
All right. So if it's a homemade situation and there's some kind of like bacon grease extra ingredient,
Absolutely.
I'll try it.
Yeah,
I'll try it.
But if you come out here with more butter than rosemary,
if you come out here with this stovetop nonsense and think that this is gonna, no, that's just filler because the rest of the food is disgusting and you're just trying to get full so you can move on and fall asleep with the tryptophan.
Basically, he's saying stuffing is manly when he bakes it.
All right. Two things. Zelly asked if I was going to the Rebel game on Sunday, and as a representative of UNLV, being that I am Suge Light, yes, I will be there with family, with Baby P, with my buddies. Last game of the season, Rebels locking in their very first, will it be 11 wins, 10-win season before they go on to
10 wins.
Potentially play the Boise State Broncos for a spot in the first college football playoff. Yes, I will be there, Zelly.
What is your take on that UNLV freshman quarterback nonsense?
Freshman quarterback?
Remember that kid in the beginning of the year that just quit on the team?
Oh, no. That was Matthew Sluka. He's a senior. And he only had 1 year of eligibility remaining. So at 3 games in, he had to shut it down because my guess is, this is not proven anywhere, that if he continued to play, he would no longer have another year of eligibility, and he had about $100K offer to play somewhere else in a Power 5 next season, and he was not getting that from UNLV.
All right. Well, good for him. Sounds like
not good for him.
But
fuck that guy.
Well,
yeah.
Malik
what kind of shit is that? You were 3-0.
Well,
I thought he was a freshman.
Malik Hodge Williams said, "Thank you very much," and hold my beer.
Or Hodge Malik Williams, whichever one you want to call him.
Hey, whatever works for you. But I guess Mr. Power Pellet Nuggets wants that extra ticket there, Zelly, since I couldn't find one to accompany me to Saturday's game, which I'll be there. My first Fremont County game, probably since Kaepernick was at UNR, which is a long time ago.
God damn. Yeah, right. They were still called UNR back then.
When was Nevada called UNR?
All the way up until UNLV got better than them football, and they're like, shit, we need an identity. They were always UNR, and they became Nevada. Yeah.
I just always thought they were Nevada, University of Nevada.
No, they started out as the University of Nevada. They were just Nevada.
Right. Yeah,
then they became, when UNLV opened as UNLV, they became UNR.
Okay.
I don't know the exact timeline of history, but it happened.
And they're the Wolfpack. You got to go with the Lobos, though. I don't know if you guys watched Dan Le Batard ever, but the Lobos, New Mexico State Lobos, right?
Yeah, so that's the history of
New Mexico State.
So they are the Wolfpack. And
so who's the Lobos?
That's New Mexico.
Oh, New Mexico. New Mexico State Yankees. Yeah.
To go back to the Wolfpack conversation, the reason the Rebels are the Rebels is because we were the lone wolf and we rebelled from the pack.
Nice. Now I go back to the Running Rebels basketball.
Hell yeah.
But
which, by the way, rest in peace, Mrs. Lost Arcanian, who recently passed away.
Oh, shit.
The
oh,
wife.
really?
Yeah, the wife of Jerry Tarkanian, and of course the mother of Danny Tarkanian. Yeah, she just recently passed away last week. So,
and forever regent and contributor to the Clark County School District, right?
yes, for a long, long time. Yes.
Man, I didn't know. That's crazy.
All right. So, but yes, like we said, this show is basically about the men that create running lanes for the running backs and protect the quarterbacks to throw the ball down the field. And sometimes they get love too, because sometimes we get to hear the phrase "big man with football," or as Derek likes to say, "thick boy season" during the season. But yes,
and they deserve, and these guys deserve all the yams, double entendre, and all the mac and cheese. Now, I don't know if you guys ever hear of twice baked potatoes.
Of course.
Oh,
yes.
Man, those are my favorite. My rest in peace to my grandmother. She would make them.
Baked potatoes
Bro.
and crack.
Baked potato, mid to upper tier. Twice to bake. You take the whole thing out. You mash the whole thing. You put it back in. You bake it twice. That's elite. That's elite. And it's a labor of love. So if somebody's doing that for you, they love you. That's what Thanksgiving's about. Let's talk to the guys that I love, or I would love to have on my team, and I never do, unfortunately, since Big Rob and Big Fern with BIC, when I threw for, wait for it, 300 yards a game.
Was that an average, Corey, or was that a game?
No, per game. Average per game.
Look, I don't doubt it.
In the playoff game against the Immortals, I threw for almost 500 yards. Little known fact, even though I talk about it all the time. And that's the game that I always brag about to the Maryland guys.
Funeral potatoes. Zelly, please explain.
No. Is that a double entendre too?
I think I have had funeral potatoes. I don't remember what they are.
I'm looking forward to some yams, personally. Shout outs to whoever's making the yams for me later. But we're going to check in with the funeral potatoes. Let's first start talking about some of the guys that maybe didn't make our list at the offensive line position that deserve the flowers as elite players at that most important, in my opinion, the most important position in this league. Probably the position that you stand out the most if you're elite, because of how few guys are able to affect the game. Listen, if you don't explode the turkey because you put it in frozen, deep fried turkey is elite as well. But I'll let you guys go, because I'm not going to lie to the fans here that are watching that aren't Nevada residents. Heavy on the Nevada lines, but they are heavy people, so maybe they deserve it. But one of the guys that's not on the list that I want to mention is a guy that is a former Watchman, longtime Baltimore standout. But last year, he kind of defected to the other side of I-95, well, all the way up it, and that is Maurice Mo Taylor, the center for the Patterson U. And I think the season started off, guys, last year with the U playing the Watchmen, and it was obvious from the jump that losing Mo Taylor, even though that Watchman line has guys that are named Berger, right, and the like, and those guys are enormous. Watch the film of the Watchmen. Their offensive line is definitely big enough to do the job. The collective intellect that Mo Taylor brought to the blocking game for the Watchmen was surely missed, especially early on in last season. I think they figured out towards the end of the season, the way they ended the season, maybe they did need some more leadership, and Mo Taylor provides that. But at least for honorable mentions in our Thick Boy season list, I would love to have a guy like Mo Taylor in front of me protecting my ass from some of the vicious defenders that we see week in and week out in the A7FL. What are some of the guys that didn't make our list that you think are some standouts here to mention early on in the show?
Well, one guy that we all talked about, and he's one of our favorite guys and is a stud lineman in the Nevada division, but did not make the list, is none other than third year player to football in general, Jeremiah Branch, and quality barbecue maker. Branch is putting pancakes out, and this is A7FL was the first time he ever played organized football, so it's exciting to see a guy like that putting out the way he does with very little training that he brought to the table. Everything he's learned on the fly, taking pointers from people throughout the season. He and I at Force's second year tryout, when he came out, I sat down with him, gave him some pointers from my perspective, and the dude does it all. I mean, O-line, D-line, does a little tight end work, but he's most known for his O-line tactics.
Now, I would have thought that he kind of was more of the tight end, because you do see him with the football.
Yeah.
And he's not necessarily as double C thick as some of the guys on this list. He does have a nice, a nicer, more, svelte build than what we're really looking for when we're really celebrating the big guys in our league. But what I will say, Jeremiah Branch, one of my favorite guys in the league. But more importantly, shout outs to my guy, Jace. Clip that and send it to him. The little guy starting his career, I think, a year and a half ago, and starting it off strong. And we'll be looking for him in the future. Jace Branch.
Definitely an all-star family unit. If we had a top 7 families in the A7FL, they'd definitely be on that list.
The Branches are definitely some of my favorite people on earth. I mean, the Branches are just very great people to be around.
And I have stories that I can tell of spending time with them, and I don't even live in Vegas. So, Dub, who's your honorable mention for the Chubbies, as my 4-year-old?
Well, it's hard to have 3 people from the same team on, because the 2 that are on this list, in a sense, cancel him out. But Anthony Diggs comes to mind from sick with it, because I mean, him and Lugo basically being that 1-2 punch up front, protecting JG. And then, of course, when you bring in Biggs, how to be that big man with football sometimes as the deep fullback, it's kind of hard. It's very hard to keep Diggs off the list, but you kind of understand why, but certainly want to give him his flowers, because, like I said, he and Lugo definitely changed the way Sick was this past season, going undefeated during the regular season. And, of course, giving your guy, Corey, JG, all the time in the world to articulate the ball down the field.
Not my guy, just the best statistical quarterback in the league last year. So if I'm giving him credit, it's not because I have any kind of bias towards him. I have 2 eyes and a brain that can function well enough to punch the right ticket when voting, unlike some people. But it's interesting that you guys go 6-6-6, but what about some of the other guys maybe in the division, down the list? Because obviously when we talk about the top of the Vegas division, one of the things that I think separates those 2 teams from the rest of the division is the elite level in which they play offensive line and are able to do what they want to do.
Let's just say the reason why the top 3 teams in Vegas are the top 3 teams is because they have great offensive linemen. And the reason the bottom 5 are the bottom 5 is because they haven't figured out a way to pull that together, and their quarterbacks literally have no time. I know there was a lot of chatter about Vegas offenses and people just putting up crazy numbers, but when you have elite offensive linemen and your quarterback has the time to throw the ball, you can then put up those elite numbers. When there's a guy in your face in 1.7 seconds every single play, it's hard to put up numbers at all unless you're a running quarterback, and even then you get hurt real fast. So there's a lot to be said. While we're on that topic, I want to give a shout out to Josh from the Force as well, a guy with great feet and great hands. Doesn't get a lot of the pub because he's a quiet guy, but does a really, really good job on O-line. Helps out Big Mac on the with Bonanza as well as a scout from the stands and kind of as a spotter for them. Nice. Good dude. Really, really good O-lineman as well. So,
and also he's going to watch us probably on the playback because I haven't seen him yet. Got a big guy, Gallardo from Florida. Little bit of mention.
Yeah, I haven't seen him pop in yet. Normally, he's the very first person on the chat.
He'll be here. All right. Let's get to the list. It's time for the main course, gentlemen.
Number 7.
Now, when we put this list together, we were talking about different guys, and we've kind of already hinted at it. There are multiple guys from the same team on this list. Now, there's multiple times that happens as well. And so what we were trying to do is kind of say, hey, where does this guy fit? And is this guy more impactful than this guy that's on the same line with him? Offensive lines in general, and I think, Derek, you would know this better than anybody as somebody that played quarterback, so you know the importance of it, but also had the humility to play this position with Chris in the Flag League. Offensive line is a unit, right? So I think it's almost fitting that these guys are on the list maybe together, even though they're a little bit apart. But number 7, I don't think we need to do anything more than just say the one name. And that means that you're an elite player, in my opinion, in this league, but in all sports. So we all know who Pele is. We all know who Jordan is. I'm sorry, generation younger than us, LeBron. It's still one name. But when I say, even though this applies to a lot of guys that are of the same descent, when I say Oos, you guys know who we're talking about. And defensive linemen know that it's probably best to line up, and no disrespect to him, on the opposite side where Schwenk is. Because if you have any chance of getting through, even though Schwenk is a good blocker in his own right, it's not going to be through Oos. And I think I said this on the chat. I don't necessarily fully 100% agree, but if you turn on some tapes of the Insomniacs and you know nothing about anything with this team other than just watching what is taking place on the field, you might consider that Oos is the better lineman even to his counterpart, who might also appear later on this list. Now, I don't know if that plays out week in, week out, and the consistency of it and the importance that Kenny Mack, who is the guy that I'm alluding to, is felt more than just his ability to dominate in the trenches, which he obviously does. But when it comes to great blockers in this league, you can't look too much further than giving credit to a guy in the Insomniacs that has set the tone at that edge wherever he's standing since his arrival into this league for this team. And Mr. Chicken Nugget Draco over there can say it better than any of us. When that guy is in front of you blocking, the defensive end or the defensive tackle in front of him is likely not going to be anywhere near the running back, so you can get a couple of yards extra than you would have if it was, that baseball term, the wins above replacement. This blocks above replacement is elite, and that's why Oos, for me, maybe for you guys too, is our
Number 7.
lineman of the 2024 season.
Yeah, let's go back to what you said about the O-line unit. And there was a lot of conversation between the guys in the chat, between the Florida division and the New Jersey and Maryland divisions, talking about Vegas and how poorly we showed against the elite of the East when the Force made the trip across the country the first go-round. And I said to each of them, the line that the Insomniacs bring is different. The first time contact is made is either at the line or 2-3 yards down the line because of the blocking schemes and the blocking unit that the Insomniacs provided. And no bigger stage than our championship game when Scooter's hand got hurt and they decided they were just going to nut up and block everybody off the line, 3 yards, cloud of dust, and drive the ball at will. That, to me, is a unit and a team coming together with the thick boys up front, making things happen, and a tribute to those guys with Oos being one of 3 guys leading that charge for them. So shout out to Mauia? How do you say his name, Dub?
I just call him Big Wes. That's what I call him because
Wesley Mauia, I think it is, but Big Oos or Oos is what it says on the back of his jersey. And dude is an absolute beast. Always shedding blocks, getting to the next level to get that next block too. I love seeing that from an O-lineman. As a guy who used to run from the quarterback position on occasion, you see that next level block, and you're sprung one way or the other. You're getting downfield. I love that shit. So shout out to Oos.
Now that
It's just, I think,
offensive line, even though it was a blowout in the championship game against BIC, they did find some issue. The defensive line for BIC did find some issues in the pass rushing, and got to Scooter, I think, a little bit faster than he was used to with the normal 27,000 seconds that his pocket had always kept in Nevada. However, when it came down to crunch time, there he is. There's Travis.
What's up, Travis?
We already gave you
hello
the
to
honorable
Mizzle,
mention,
too.
my guy, and we knew you were coming in.
You got to rewind and listen back, Travis.
Happy Thanksgiving. And shout outs to Mizzle and shout outs to Casey Cox. I gave him a little salute, not to break break the conversation as we were having it. But when it came down to it, with your quarterback not really being able to deliver as effective, listen, let's stop blaspheming the great Scott Hamilton, right? He wasn't the worst quarterback of all time in that game. He just wasn't competing
Himself.
at the level that we kind of had come to expect him to compete in. Look no further than the last championship game, in which in that second half, he's probably the difference maker in that game, even though the wide receivers caught the passes, he was delivering them on target with a lot less time.
His teammates carried the load for him in New Jersey. Let's just make that perfectly clear. His teammates
he shifted to being a guy that could still contribute without the ability to be the elite passer that we've come to know him as. But I will say this, as much as it was a surprise, in my opinion, even though the Insomniacs clearly blew out BIC, it was a surprise in the pass rush. I don't know if BIC stood up to the challenge, play in, play out in the running downs, when everyone knew kind of in that Wildcat situation that it was going to be a run. Those guys, when they put hands on the defensive line for BIC, it still looked a lot like the Insomniacs offensive line that we've grown to know and love. And that's why I think more than any other specific reason, they are the defending two-time A7FL national champions. And Oos, call him whatever you want, he's a monster, and he is
number 7
on our
Hey,
list.
Dub, while we're on this conversation, can you put up the stream here so we can show a little action from Oos on a couple plays?
Speaking of big number 17.
He's here on the end on this play.
Da,
Seals his man. That's the reason why RTC gets 4 yards before he gets hit right there, right? That's the dude we're talking about here. Seals the man again on the inside.
Nah, he missed a little bit there, but it doesn't matter.
But when you're blocking from the inside for an outside run, all you got to do is get a guy moving the other direction. You're good.
And the guy he's blocking is a former Pennsylvania standout for the Immortals, Rashad Knight, who's an elite player in his own right.
All right, so it felt as better to have some game action going on in the back.
I don't mind.
Yeah,
but we are switching gears because as great as Oos is, and he's taking care of the guy he's supposed to. As great, some of these passes, I don't know, but as great as Oos is, we got to move to number 6, gentlemen.
That's right.
I don't know if we're going to move too far in actual locale per se. Another not so great one.
number 6.
Now I thought that you guys would put this guy ahead of this guy's counterpart. No. Number 6 on our list, Derek. He's your rookie of the year candidate for the Nevada division this season. Introduce us to our
number 6
offensive lineman of the 2024 season.
Look, that is Lugo. He was one of my favorite guys to watch this entire season. He showed up and was a difference maker for Sick on the line this year, and brought an element to Sick that we hadn't quite seen so far. They always had a decent line, but they had a somewhat impenetrable line against the better talent in Vegas. Force has one of the best D-line rushing lines in the division, and they couldn't get anywhere against this guy. So when I saw that, how they manhandled them the very first game of the season, and then went on to beat the Insomniacs, and Lugo at the offensive line position, at the defensive line position, and tight end was just special in every way. I'm trying to play the highlights from this stupid game, and it's not working. So
it'll come up. We'll just talk over it.
maybe if the shit starts working. Yeah. Okay.
Well, just to pinpoint, one thing. The first game of the season, when it was Sick and the Pit Bosses, my broadcast colleague, of course, the Asgardian from Asgard, Scott McCorkle, or as Corey likes to call him, thank you. He kept saying, all you want to just pay attention to Michael Lugo and see why he is going to be a huge addition to Sickwood's offensive line. And him and Diggs, as previously mentioned, gave JG all the time in the world to throw the ball, because the problem has been and this is with any quarterback, as you gentlemen know, playing quarterback, pressure bust pipes. And certainly Lugo was the sustaining force in that O-line, protecting Jimmy Geary's blind side, hence why JG had pretty much all the time in the world this past season to matriculate the ball down the field.
And it's funny, as we're searching for the game, we're getting that insomnia can make you sick. So there is a direct correlation here. I think the main difference in that regular season game for Sickwit that we're now seeing on the screen, there was no difference really in the defense, because that was one of the highest scoring games in the Nevada division, maybe in the whole league all season. Now, obviously, there was a couple that broke the records, but the defense didn't stand up, sturdier for Sickwit. The offense was just able to keep pace with the mighty Insomniacs. And I think a lot of the reason was the addition to a little bit more balance from Sick. And look, Sickwit has always been able to kind of get that quick passing game going with the elite weapons that they have, led by Darren Palmer, and obviously a quarterback that can get them the ball. But when they were able, and you see him here, which no blocking needed on this one, when they have a guy like Lavish T and the other running back that they have, Mora, and they can get those guys going and have an elite defense like the Insomniacs have to pay attention to the run, mostly because their offensive line was able to create those running lanes on that misdirection type of style for those running backs. It made that potent passing offense for Sick even more deadly. So when we really talk about the difference from year one of Sickwit to year two, especially in that regular season matchup, for me, it's the addition of Lugo, who was not there the previous year. Now, a guy later on this list, maybe not, was there the previous year. But now we talk about the unit, having both guys, that unit going from just one guy that makes plays and you can find a way around him. Now having those two guys, putting a guy like Knox in the fall or different guys in at tight end that can still make a block. Now you're talking about one of the better units in the league. And that's why they were probably the best regular season team all season, either them or BIC. Shout outs to Lavish with the Silky. And here's the blocking you see here. Now, I don't know if he's blocking anybody on that play. I think he's just
no, he was on the other side of the field. He was on the other side of the field.
And we might see a guy later on in this list that can be featured there. But Lugo deserves all the flowers. If he's rookie of the year in Vegas, if he's not, get these big guys some kind of trophies, whether it's just a cup to hold their home style mac and cheese. Make sure the breadcrumbs are crispy. No soggy breadcrumbs on that Southern mac and cheese.
No breadcrumbs at all, bro. Like,
you don't put breadcrumbs? Listen.
Now, you know what you put on top of the mac and cheese? More fucking cheese.
Yeah, the crispy layer of burnt cheddar. Jeez. Yeah, I'm down.
I actually go American on the top of mine, but I'm with you.
Listen, I like a little. If your mac and cheese has only one cheese in it, you're probably not eating a great mac and cheese. And I'm just going based on, listen, the mac and cheese me and my wife make, not as good as when I'm invited to the cookout and they sprinkle a little bread on there. So
number 6,
Lugo from Sick. Number 7 was an Insomniac. Number 6 was a Sick. Is that how you say it? A Sick? That
sure.
puppy's sick. That boy's sick. Anyway.
Yeah.
Number 5.
So moving on, maybe 3,000 miles away, guys. I don't know if you could do the same little gimmick here. But if you do, shout out to Smooth on the catch. If you do, Big Rob calls this next guy, our number 5 guy, Muggs. Because he's basically out there mugging, basically a criminal out there if it was in the street. We're talking about 6'6", 320 pounds. Notice the theme here. Notice the theme here. A lot of the great guys are also high-level coaches. No, not the size. If Kenny Mack was 6'7", that guy is in the NFL. But these guys are also high-level coaches at that position. Deshaun Johnson, number 76 from the U. And if you just know, number 76 from the U, a lot of guys around this league, especially including this division, will be like, yeah, that dude, right? Yeah, that dude. So if you want, go to a BIC game from, I believe, last year was a standout. You could see a little bit better because, you go to the BIC, the U games this year, people are there, people aren't, is what it is. When Huff's not there, guys don't show up. But we're talking about elite level linemen in this league. Deshaun Johnson is also the offensive line coach for William Patterson University in Patterson, which is where these guys from the U are from. And when it comes to the actual talent of offensive line, there's a lot of things that guys can do. Some guys just line up and are bigger and stronger than you, and that's a good start. But when you watch closely Deshaun Johnson's game, not only does he have the size and the strength and just the nasty, gritty want to pummel somebody into the ground, he has feet, he has hand placement, and he has technique that rivals almost everyone on this list. And when we talk about pedigree at some of the other positions, as we talk about Darren Palmer going to UNLV, or a guy in the Vegas division going to Nebraska, Deshaun Johnson's no slouch. He was a Division I guy himself at the University of Rutgers, and he even got some NFL looks. So this is them on defense. We're going to have to maybe filibuster until we see that team in black. But just peep the sideline. If you see – there's Dave Valley. So he might not be in this game. We're going to have to take a look at that. Shout outs to Burton there, number 13. But for me, I wanted to include a guy that I've seen up close and personal dominate this league from the offensive line position. And look, when it comes to the U, there's no shortage of good players, great players, legacy players in this league. That's a battle right there. We might mention that guy later on. Yikes, Burton. Yikes. Somebody call the plumber. Number 5, Deshaun Muggs Johnson.
Number 5.
On the A7FL. Top 7 offensive lineman of the season.
So you said he played for Rutgers, got some looks from the NFL. How long ago was he at Rutgers?
We're talking like 10 years, maybe more.
Shout out to the Big Ten, the class division of college football.
Yeah, it was the Big East back then.
Good point.
It was the Big East back then. Yeah, Rutgers going into the Big Ten. That's a money grab. I'm not into money grab things when it's supposed to be about academics, and now all of a sudden it's all about money, and these guys are getting $10 million contracts for Shadir Sanders to lose and have his wide receiver cornerback flaunt every touchdown by doing a Heisman pose when they're losing by 21. And then Shadir Sanders, who's supposed to be a NFL number 1 overall prospect type of guy, blaming his offensive line for losing to a team like Nebraska early in the season. So, yeah, that's cool. Awesome. Get your Rolls Royce and Rolex watch and do this so all the kids think that that's what football is about. That's gonna lead you to a long NFL career, Shadir Sanders. Anyway, that's my just little tangent there. But you know what? There he is, right there. There he is.
That's a large man.
Look at him. Look at him move. Look at him move.
What is that? Oh,
you see how that's That's 13 yards downfield on a guy from Maryland named Bone, an all-decade performer. Now just watch number 76. That's a big man moving.
And throwing them shoulders, bro.
Yeah, and he's trying to block a guy who's 5'10", an all-state level wrestler with that low center of gravity. Boom, getting out in front of Dot Boss. Get out of his way. That's who I pick for number 5. Let's watch him one more time here before we go to another division.
Yeah, he's moving, folks. The push on that line. I'm surprised the U doesn't run more behind those two big bodies and with some patience and push the ball. Casey Cox.
Thank you, Casey Cox.
Happy Thanksgiving to my favorite division owner and podcast host, and Corey as well.
Fair. I deserve all shade all the time. Now, me and KC, we're kind of working together against a common foe recently, but this is where it really matters. Look at him going in motion, getting in front. Guys are just diving out of the way. Poor H3 Frazier.
Business decision.
And as the great LJ Smith would say about hard body, 76 speed, but when you only need 3 yards, you don't need great speed.
I played a lot of D-line in my day, and I don't think I've ever gone against somebody that large with that much strength and speed. And
that much willingness to do that. You know what I mean? Some guys, what's up, Gaither? Some guys, when they play this position, they know that they're big. They do their job. They're putting it, they're putting it in neutral as the play is continuing down the field. When you have guys that size, there he is sealing the Vegas special, as I call that Statue of Liberty, that back stack. He's sealing it right there off so that Cizon can make that throw. Look, it's invaluable. Absolutely, mac and cheese. It's invaluable to have a guy like Deshaun Johnson. And now that we've seen him in person, am I right, guys? Am I right? I mean,
yeah, he's special. Right? Maybe deserves to be higher up this list, but
missed a couple games. So if we're gonna hold the same criteria for some of these guys, we're gonna hold the same criteria for some of these guys. Now, if he's,
it should also be mentioned that most of the guys we're talking about played both sides of the ball too, including a couple guys close to the top of this list.
Not him. So that is our
number 5.
5. Which this one's going to be a little bit more difficult. Whoever's finding the film, I don't know if it's Dub or Derek.
As soon as you tell me what team he plays for and a game he played in, I'll find it.
Well, since Chris isn't here, I'm going to go ham to keep it straight Thanksgiving. Although if you're getting ham, guys, just just make a delicious turkey. Anyway, ham is just like
smack the meat.
Like
you can't buy the delicious turkey pre-made at the store and spiral cut, though. That's the problem.
That's fair. And listen, there's only so much sodium you should be intaking. Yes, Casey Cox, I am 100%. Now, we don't have to go all behind the scenes on the player page, but if you want to have a fun read and, maybe that's just how I enjoy myself when I'm bored. But
number 4.
Bored?
Oh, I'm never bored. Ham is fire. So, yeah, we're going to go ham on the real Sin City Chaos offensive lineman who dominated a whole entire division. And now I think this guy deserves a little bit more credit. Now, he's one of those guys. I think it's just it's like a virus that's circulating around the Ohio division that these guys want more and more attention, and they clamor for it as annoyingly as – like a 4-year-old that wants a toy before Christmas. And it's like, listen, Deacon specifically. So Ohio guys are going to say, oh, I'm the best. Look at me. I play, the Amazon, the Amazon truck driver team, and we won by 67 points. But there's no denying that Jonathan Clark, offensive lineman. Now this is their defensive line. Offensive lineman for the real Sin City Chaos is one of those guys to watch.
Gaither, you already missed one, Gaither, but keep watching.
Where's Sick at? I don't know. They're throwing up because they won the game that didn't matter. They're still sick about it. That's why their team is named that. Now, this I think Jonathan Clark is going to be he's on this. Yeah, he's here now. You'll see him. He's the right tackle. Now, when you judge these guys based on their division, there's going to be certain instances where, well, Keno, come on, buddy. What are you doing there? You want to be the MVP of the league. You step up in the pocket one time and throw an interception. I don't know. Stick to wide receiver, buddy. But Jonathan Clark is a guy that, in my opinion, sets the tone for, by far, when they existed, the best team in that division. And when the Chaos were really rolling, it was because they were getting blocks like we just saw from Jonathan Clark, who has a pedigree where, again, he is a football guy, plays football all year round. He's in the semi-pros. He plays for whatever the 87 bullshit-ass Chargers or whatever teams are up there. But he's no joke. And when I saw him on film, he kind of popped out as one of the standouts on that team. And I wanted to make sure I had him on this list. And I think at number 4, for the dominance that he showed week in, week out, this film, it's interesting. This film is against by far their best opponent of the season. And you can see there, that's him who had blocked his man all the way out of the screen. And you can see the footwork that he has isn't bad. Now, the want to, I don't know if he's, in the same category as what Deshaun Johnson was doing. And to be clear, the U as a team, they probably play better defensive linemen week in, week out than the real Sin City Chaos do. But there's no denying that when you can put up the offensive numbers that the Sin City Chaos do, again, the real Sin City Chaos, and I wish Chris was here because then I could continue to go ham. Shout outs to ham on Thanksgiving, apparently. You start with the offensive line for a team that dominates. And if we're being honest, the Chaos may be one of the most dominant teams in their existence. Yes, based on who they're playing.
Yeah, but they got thrown out of the league for using a fake name, bro. Let's get it over with. There is no more not real Sin City Chaos because they didn't deserve the name. They got blown off the fucking map, never to return ever again to the league. So there is no more Sin City Chaos. You can drop that shit from your vernacular. It's gone. Bye-bye.
Well, when there is a Sin City Vegas team, then maybe we can do it. But
every Vegas team is Sin City without saying it. It's GWS, goes without saying.
Okay. Well, we adjudicated this on the 3-on-1 podcast, and I actually worked on it. Chris,
you did a great job.
I think Chris
2020. You did a great job, but hindsight's 2020, and we don't see their ass in the league anymore.
Well, fine. But if you go to Cincinnati, they called themselves Sin City with a C, and they're not saying that they're the better Sin City, but they're the real Sin City with a C. And we will stop now as we are not going to talk about our
number 4
offensive lineman from the real Sin City Chaos, Jonathan Clark. Now, Gaither, you were asking for a nauseated young fellow on this list, were you? Dub, introduce our
number 3.
Well, there's many things we can say about this former Vanderbilt Commodore. But there's many things he can do. He can run. He can block. He can make one-handed catches and even pancake a Ramsey. And the Ramsey still gets up for more, of course. Number 3 from Sick With It, part of that Oos community, big, number 57, Josiah Sow.
Now, last year, because of the way he wore his hair, I called this guy Mickey Mouse because he had the 2 buns. And you could clearly see that. Listen, let me just say this. If you're going to wear your hair in 2 Mickey Mouse buns, you have to be the most secure guy in your manhood to do so. And when you bring it like Siu, I'm just like having like a Trump like word seizure as I'm trying to pronounce his name. When you're
Word
talking
salad.
about Mickey Mouse, no seizure. It's dementia.
Oh.
Buddy. Watch his rallies. He struggles with many words and then glitches.
Oh,
And he's
trust me.
our president.
Trust me. I know. I'm well aware.
Well, we voted for him, so that's on us, not him. He's allowed to do him. We know who he is. Anyway, when we're talking about a guy that's running out and missing blocks like right there, that play didn't go so well. But when you watch him on the plays that he is able to execute, that's when it really happens. Look at that. Bang. Yeah, missed that one too. So we're not gonna hold him for those specific 2-1s. We just exposed Scott Hamilton in the championship game with like 6 bad throws in a row as well. So maybe we should get the highlights there as we're about to see Jeremy Geary throw a dime. My thing with Seau is I almost like default to Junior Seau. But anyway, yes, he is versatile. And yes, when he has the ball in his hands, he can run with a lot of gusto, let's say. But let's be honest, that's just some bullshit. He's actually effectively like making plays happen when he's able to block. And I will say this, my take about the Insomniacs guys, I think would be similar here. Not that Seau is not deserving of this list. If it were just me, I might have gone with Lugo at this spot and then bump Seau down because I think they're interchangeable potentially. But both of these guys are elite, and that's why, again, as we mentioned before with Lugo, once this guy had a partner in crime on that offensive line, they all of a sudden became an even more dominant force on the offensive side of the ball.
I will take full credit for the reason why they're in the positions that they're in. I personally said that I thought Sal belonged higher up the list than Lugo. Lugo, although great offensive lineman, he is more a utility guy used in multiple positions. So is Sal, but Lugo ultra effective on both sides of the ball and in the receiving game. And Sal more the anchor of that offensive line and the protector. So for me, for what I saw on the field and witnessed live, going back here looking at these actual plays that are highlight plays, you only see action on those plays. For the rest of the game, you saw him block the way he did, and the way he did was elite. So was Lugo, but I give Sal the slight edge.
Yeah, and I'll definitely agree with you guys because, listen, just keep this game on for a while. This was a great game. So, Dub, what's your breakdown on the other oos of this list?
Get Lugo out in front of that train, though.
Well, I mean, what is the one common thing of what makes an offensive lineman great is their footwork. And like I said, big men are not supposed to be that agile with a big boy that has the size that Sal has. But his footwork is so tactical, and he gets out and gets you to the second level, gets you to the second edge, to where if they run the jet sweep with Lavish, or if they run the jet sweep with,
and there's him catching a touchdown.
And there's the one-handed touchdown, as we mentioned. Like I said, big men are not supposed to run that fast as he runs. And when he runs with force. He runs with purpose. He runs to, in a sense, looking for contact because he is all about that action boss. But it's just the one thing I watch with him specifically is just his great tactical footwork, whether it's in the run game, in the pass game, or when he's out there with the ball in hand, or as I like to say on broadcast, big man with football. But it's just the feet work that really stands out for me when watching big number 57, the former Vanderbilt Commodore, Josiah Sal.
Oh, another D1 guy. Listen, at the end of the day, really, I think that people don't understand how athletic you have to be good at this position. Because not only do you have to have the size and strength to be able to stand in front of the bigger defenders that you have to block, I always equate, especially pass blocking, to almost like basketball defense. You have to move your feet and stay in between the defender and the basket, which is the quarterback in this case in football. Who's that? Who's that man? Danye Lyons. And just an aside,
similar return to the championship winning touchdown.
I mean, listen, there was a lot less effort on that one than in the championship touchdown. So I'll say that. But anyway, how was David Clark that wide open? Of all the people to cover on the Insomniacs, don't you think the 6'5" guy is the one that you would notice? Anyway,
look, after watching Vic play, once he's got a step on you, forget it. Like
no, but that last touchdown that they showed,
yeah,
I know there's nobody in frame,
yeah.
and that will happen from time to time. But there was never anybody in frame. They completely didn't cover him. Like, this is understandable, right? It's a quick screen, and he's already at 10 yards on 3 steps. But that first touchdown, it's like he came off the bench, and it was like, nah, we don't have to cover that one. Yeah, wrong idea. Anyway.
Number 3.
And that's 2 sick-witted offensive linemen here on our A7FL nationwide top 7. Guys, so far of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys, 3 have been from Vegas. Interesting. That brings us to
and let's go on record and say that there were a lot of pundits in our group chat that had an opportunity to weigh in with other divisions in the
I'm the one. Listen, I'll also break kayfabe. I'm the one that's like, yo, guys, this is the list. Do you guys disagree? Because I agree with this list. I gave my Mo Taylor take as an honorable mention. I also think that he could have had a better season for the U. I think that the guys on the Watchmen deserve credit. But again, not as elite as some of these guys consistently. Listen, there's a reason why the Sick-Witted was probably statistically the best team in the regular season, and the Insomniacs won the national championship. It starts with offensive line, everybody.
Yes, it does. The trenches.
And that's why I have an 80% winning percentage when I have Big Rob and Big Fern as my offensive lineman. And the last 2 seasons with less than 1.7 seconds to throw. As people are trying to continue to remind me, as if I don't already know, I am 0 on 2 seasons. So good luck to the Gold finding these guys. Maybe they'll get a diamond in the rough, or maybe a 16 carat out of the sand. But
number 3.
So yeah, which brings us. Maybe we should keep this game on, guys.
Well, I figured that was the intent.
Number 2.
Anybody? Bueller?
Well,
I will go ahead and take this one because I've said on multiple occasions, if we are doing a brand new draft league and I get the number 1 pick of the A7FL, this is the guy that I'm taking, and that is none other than one Kenneth Mack. I still stand behind that. He is my guy. He is at least the top 2 offensive linemen in the game. I believe he's number 1 from my perspective. The energy that he brings, the attitude he brings, the coaching awareness, the line setup, coaching up his line, setting up his unit, and protecting Scooter back there or whoever is their quarterback. I don't think he's matched in this league. And Kenny Mack would likely be my offensive most valuable player if such a award could be handed out to an O-lineman. So D1 player from Nebraska. I didn't get a chance to see Big Rob play. I assume that Big Rob was of the same ilk.
No, what I was going to say is Big Rob wanted to give Kenny Mack the MVP last year, just like he wanted to give a different big man the MVP for this season. And I don't think I would disagree with him in either scenario. What I will say about Kenny Mack this season and why I think such an elite player is listed here, at least in my opinion, right? Because again, I'll take credit for where he's at on this list as opposed to number 1. I think that there was, and this is me kind of confirming. Well, KC's never been Vegas biased, just like I've never been New Jersey biased. But anyway, there was I'm kind of like confirming my own take by saying that I was right, which whatever. But I think that there was a little bit of a malaise over the Insomniacs early on in this run towards another championship, because they won the championship last year, which listen, the Insomniacs organization had never won a game before all of those guys got there, and they were willing and ready to prove it week in, week out, how dominant they could be, as well as putting their name on the map and playing a really dynamic Florida team in the championship for a really tough championship win, which, this year was a blowout. Last year clearly was, the year before was not a blowout, right? Insomniacs blew out BIC. They had to come back in very dramatic fashion against the Nightcrawlers. But for me, there's Scooter Hamilton trucking somebody right at the goal line.
You don't think the game setup and outcome was the exact same the year before, where the Insomniacs down and had to outscore their opponent by 2 or 3 touchdowns to win the game? I mean, it was almost the exact same game, except for it was a running play last year and a return this year that sealed the deal.
Well, it was a blowout against BIC, and it was a squeaked out close game against the Nightcrawlers, in which I think everybody from the Vegas division had said how much they respect those Florida guys, because I don't think that they think that New Jersey's good at all. I think that they blew them out. They showed them who's boss. The entire game was dominated by the Insomniacs for that last 17 seconds.
That's an interesting having fun take. I will tell you.
No. Listen. Obviously, when we really break it down, the difference, in my opinion, in the championship this year was the execution from the Insomniacs, and where BIC was better is in their ad lib. They're making a play where none was there. The Sterry Codrington factor of him being able to run the ball, there was no answer really, realistically, that the Insomniacs had for when Sterry decided to be an effective runner. Now, the defensive backfield, I think, was better than anyone expected from the New Jersey side of the ball, which would be asinine, because if they watched film, they would have realized that even Dillard Davis, and I know Gianni Breland isn't Dillard Davis, but there's an ongoing joke that Gianni Breland is Dillard Davis, so I'm going to continue the joke. The Insomniacs can cover. Now, Sterry missed a lot of passes, but he didn't miss runs, and he's a really hard runner to stop as the force. But I think, getting back to Kenny Mack and the Insomniacs in general, there was a little bit of a lull to their season early on because of how easy it has been in the regular seasons. And even, let's be honest, let's talk about the fall brawl last year. The only real games that they were in were twice against Sick. They handled their business. And when you're winning that easily, that consistently, sometimes you need a wake-up call. And I think in games where Kenny Mack showed up late, it seemed like the Insomniacs showed up late. So it's either proves how important he was, because, of course, we talked about it. He's not just a irresponsible guy like, I don't know, a general manager for a team that's late for a playoff game. G Herd. Excuse me 1 second.
Shade, Corey.
No, I call out even guys that I always praise for what they can do. But when Kenny Mack and the Insomniacs as a whole lost that Sick game, I think it was game on again, because the last thing you needed to do was motivate them. And once they got the motivation, they proved why they're an unstoppable force. And even in this game that we're watching now, blowout, clear blowout.
So we had a highlight on Big Goose in this game before. Now we can highlight Kenny as we're talking about him. Here he is with the Shiesty, handling 103 on that play. Big furthest block downfield. Both Oos and Kenny walking up behind RTC after he goes down 14, 15 yards behind the field. Pancake there, even though it was on a fumble. The guy just gets after it every single play. Loves serving up pancakes. One of my favorite guys to watch. I love watching O-line, D-line play, being a former trench guy myself, and seeing guys who do it technically well and athletically well is special, and Kenny's one of those dudes.
Well, and where we talk about a lot of the guys on this list and their ability to do it, he also has that leadership ability in which his energy and his exuberance, it spreads throughout the team. So in instances in which he was not there, the Insomniacs were kind of like stuck in a lull. They weren't able to do it. And then when he would show up mid-game for some of those games, all of a sudden you would see that their offense would explode. It's because Kenny Mack showed up, and he is a nightmare if you're a defensive lineman trying to line up in front of him. There's maybe, and notice he's number 2 on our list, there's maybe one guy, at least in last season. Remember, guys, don't show that. That didn't happen. Scott Hamilton never makes bad throws.
It didn't happen because I was at the fucking convenience store getting drinks for the team that didn't get given to us by the host that day. So that shit didn't happen. Shouldn't have fucking counted while I was gone.
Yeah, and you know, there was no pass rush on Scott Hamilton either, because he's never faced a situation in which he has to throw the ball with anybody near him. That's a shame. But again, you know, you see the blowout. It's obviously a lopsided matchup here. But to continue with the joke, listen, Kenny Mack, you could say you could put him at number 2 instead of number 1. We can maybe you can convince me, fans, in the comments, if we get enough people commenting that Kenny Mack is number 1. Look, maybe we adjust our list. Maybe he even ends up on our top 50, right? Maybe he ends up in our top 50 if you go and get to work in those comments. Maybe he ends up higher than our number 1 guy in the top 50. Don't show it again.
I want to show it again because I want to show you what the breakdown of the line in this play. It's pretty special, right? Scott doesn't step up into the pocket early enough, and the backside receiver gets it.
I mean, it's listen, when you have 3 offensive linemen and they send 4, one of the guys has either got to get picked up by the running back or you're going to miss. So you got to deliver the ball with a guy in your face. Quarterbacks with pressure, a little bit different. You know, if you throw for 1,000 yards with 1.7 seconds in the pocket, come see me.
Come see Corey Hammond.
Holla at me. Meet me outside. How about that?
Yeah.
Cash me outside. So that go ahead. I was
going to say, so I think we've given Kenny his flowers, and maybe we can come back to it because the guy who's next on this list is the one who's blocking on these next few plays.
So Kenny Mack, number 2
on our list, which brings us to
numero uno
on a Vegas show list. Shout outs to the other side of the ball and the other side of the ball network. Stay tuned. On a Vegas show list, there's an offensive lineman.
That's a hole.
Come here. It is a black mamba. Look, tell them who say number 1 in the thing. Say number 1.
Number 1. Bear Valley.
Yeah, I don't know if you got the name right, but how could there be a guy on this list ahead of the great and invincible, almighty Kenny Mack? And the answer, in my opinion, comes down to the effect that this person had on his team. Great throw, Sterry. And you had time. You had plenty of time, Sterry. And that's how bad. Never mind. I would have thrown a touchdown on that play. Kason Campbell told me as much. He's wide open on that one too. What are you doing? Anyway, quarterback play in this game was atrocious, and I had to do everything in my back to hold back. I didn't hold back being biased, but I did hold back on trashing our great quarterbacks in that game. Dave Valley, Deacon James Hammond just said it better than most do, because some guys would say it's Kenny Mack. Dave Valley, again, a university, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, a University of Rhode Island offensive line coach that Ken Stansbury found and said, listen, here's the league, here's the situation, blah, blah, blah. I told this story on the Games of the Week live. I went out to shake this man's hands, right? I thought that he had a glove underneath his glove because the glove he was wearing, his hand burst out of it. So I thought, maybe he's wearing 2. No. This man's hands are fucking grizzly paws that even the biggest gloves cannot contain him. Now, if you watch him on some of the plays in this game, man, great tackle there. Anybody tackling that guy in open field is insane. But I think during the regular season was even more impressive because week after week against some of the best defensive linemen in our league, Dave Valley was lining up pancake after pancake after pancake. And shout out to AJ McQuaid making some plays here in this set. But if you watch that big-ass bald head there, not one time is anyone even getting close to getting by him. Now, are there great players on the defensive line for the Insomniacs? Absolutely. But that man right there was up for Defensive Player of the Year. That's Chris, right?
Yeah.
That's an elite level defensive lineman in our league. And we're talking about just getting manhandled like you're not even supposed to be on this field at the same time as this player.
He just says go down and go down hard.
And when you have to rush a guy like Sterry Codrington and he can step up in the pocket and the center has every single wall blocked off immediately and you have plenty of room to step up and then you can find that seam and then you can take off. That's why Dave Valley is why BIC last year didn't make it to the regional championship game, guys. They lost to a Huffless U. Now they have another offensive lineman, and the guy's name is Big Dippy. You know, he's another one of these guys that I think deserves recognition on this list, but he misses too many games, and I won't give him a spot on this list because of it. But when they added Dave Valley, and when they shored up an offensive line, it allowed all of those amazing playmakers to just play football the way that they know how. And a lot of the guys on this list, not only did Dave Valley get in there on the offensive line and stack pancake like he was working at IHOP, but he also effectively was a monster on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm thankful that my family has me alive today, because in our second game, he could have absolutely murdered me. And look, I don't have enough sense to not get up after big hits, but he took it easy on me when he could have absolutely baptized me in the name of all that is football. So when we talk about actual impact players, Big Rob Fabian, and I almost agree if it wasn't Jeremy Geary for me, Big Rob Fabian had this man, Dave Valley, not only as rookie of the year, guys,
But MVP,
but the most valuable player in the entire league, because you look at the win share. BIC couldn't beat the U without Huff last year. And that's an indictment. That's as bad of an indictment as somebody arguing that Vegas is the real Sin City and losing, guys. Okay? Not making the championship game, or at least beating the Huffless U last, not 2024, but 2023. Not beating a team that was basically just asking for Kareem Moon, who is a miracle in his own right. But to make miracles happen, Kareem Moon, their playmaker, wide receiver, returner at quarterback, and not Huff, maybe the most decorated quarterback in our league's history. And they lost that game. That's an indictment. And when you look at your team as Ken Stansbury and you say, how do we win the championship next year? Now, did he? No, they got blown out in the championship game. But how did they get back to the championship game where they were very close to actually winning it if they didn't get blown out? In my opinion, the biggest difference maker that they added to their roster, it was not Mice Spice who missed the tackle on that 3-on-1, obviously. It was a guy in Dave Valley that drove from Rhode Island to New Jersey specifically to pummel the best defensive linemen in our league week in, week out, and embarrass them regularly. And I just wish that he could be playing on my team next year. Which, newsflash, I'm not joining BIC. So anyway.
I was going to say, are you making an announcement?
I was like, do we have breaking news on the other side of the ball network?
Listen, 3 years ago, I could have joined up with BIC and been the number two behind a much better quarterback than I, especially in this league. in Sterry Codrington. Yes, in this game, I will say that I can make the throws that he didn't because I could, but I also could never in my wildest dream make the runs that he made. So definitely would have been a difference. Shout outs to the All-Pro Jaffos.
Even Skinny Corey?
Man, Skinny Corey's not running a 4.3. What? The best I ever ran was a 4.7. And let me tell you, that laser time was very, very, very nice to me.
With all his manly might.
Listen, I waited in the beginning of my senior year, like pre-season, like when I was doing all those combines, trying to get noticed. I was 179. I've never been anywhere near the six-pack that I had back then, and I was busting my ass. And then I started eating. But Skinny Corey for the shout outs to the Omegas. Skinny Corey for the Omegas, I got down to 195, but I'm, look Corey, I think is what you're saying. Look Corey's not getting those runs.
What college would you have gone to, or what was your dream college to go to play quarterback at, Corey? Let's just ask that question.
That's not how it works. I had a legitimate shot to go to Cornell. I just didn't. Yeah, I just did. I got a D in my first quarter of my senior year, like an idiot.
What was your the Jesuits you were offered as well, but you had to toe the line if you got there? Was it William and Mary?
William and Mary was one of the ones that was talking to me. The one with the honor code that was like William and Mary was Norwich, which is a military school.
Gotcha.
But also the 1AA team Wagner out of Staten Island, I was talking to for a while. I ended up going to Muhlenberg. And funny story, I went there because I thought that they were recruiting me with the most intent to have me play early. And I showed up day one to camp, went into the quarterback room, and there was 7 other freshman quarterbacks. Yikes. So just a lesson to people getting recruited. Don't believe what they say. They lie like Trump. And I'll never forget that first day. I didn't even talk to the kid, but I'll never forget his name. They went in there and they told Tom Nangle to go from another great. That was another great pass. They told. They called out.
Since we're here, let's talk about this play. My God, do you not see Munchie get thrown out of the club here, and then the interception happened?
Bro, nobody touched him. He just dove. He flopped like fucking LeBron in a basketball game against a European team. Like, what are we talking about? Nobody touched him. Nobody touches him. Kells is not a physical player. I've trucked Kells. Kells is not physical. Watch the coverage. He's not even staying with Munchie. He's not touching him.
Hang on a second.
If you want to break down this play, Amir Chick Morris, who makes the interception, is covering a different guy, sees Scott Hamilton lock in, and goes off coverage to make this interception. This is an absolutely 100% elite level play on, man, Kells isn't barely touching. Munchie's a grown-ass man, bro.
Munch turns here and gets tripped and pushed. So he can't go back and high point the ball.
Do you fucking play soccer? That is not physical. That's not a physical play that should have been called. Munchie's just Munchie pancakes Kells 9 out of 9 times if it's a block. You're telling me that minimal amount of contact needed to be called? Oh, I forgot. It was an interception, so of course it does. Get the fuck out of here. That's not a pass interference.
Mm-hmm.
Do the passion thing. You always do it. It pisses me off.
Why?
No, I'm just joking. I don't know.
Because, but that is
that is
yes. Passion.
Yes, if we could zoom in, I think there's a little bit of contact here. But is this really a catchable ball? And for you to tell me that this is absolutely pass interference, no, that's kind of like the hand finding the guy as he turns. I don't think that I see a push there. What I see is the flop afterwards.
As he begins to turn, you see the extension of the arm. Watch. Look, there it is. That's when he pushes him in the back, and Munchie goes flying.
No, nobody determines whether something's a pass interference based on the Chiefs. They always get the call. listen, that was just a great. I don't know.
He doesn't know.
The pass is thrown well behind Munchie, which is why he can't readjust himself to get it. And I don't know. Justin Shepard, you're a corner. Are you allowed that minimal amount of contact on that play to try to make that play as a defensive player? Because I think it's hard enough for our corners in any league, but especially in this league, that you can't make even just the gesture of a hand touching a guy that's stronger and faster than you. Kels is getting burnt by Munchie 9 out of 9 times. He's also getting pancaked by Munchie 9 out of 9 times. If he's the guy that we say that Munchie is, he's gonna gather his feet through the contact and then force the refs to call a play, because then Kels would have went through his body. I don't know. Let's watch the zoomed in. We got a zoomed in look here. If it's an egregious push, I will disagree with myself right here. What the? That's not a lot of contact. Look at Kel's arms. You're telling me that Kel's arms are throwing a guy like Munchie? No, he's tripping. That is fucking cap, Derek. You just saw it in HD right in front of your face. Munchie is not getting pushed over like that. If we're talking about maybe Savion Cunningham, who I would also argue would not get pushed over like that, maybe he's getting pushed over. What happened was that was a fucking shitty thrown ball way underneath the receiver. And Amir Chick Morris is coming off coverage 30 yards down the field and making an elite interception in a must-have championship game in the end zone.
Look, as Munchie is crossing and about to turn, he gets pushed in his back and trips and cannot turn back to gather the ball. It was pass interference, created the interception.
Justin Shepard, you're the corner. I'm always going to skew offense, and right now I'm on the defensive side. I don't know, bro. Listen, I've seen some bad pass interference calls in my time.
Oh, there was a better shot. There you go. Both hands pushed. Hang on a second. I haven't seen this one. 2 hands pushed.
That's not a push. That's incidental contact. I think it's P-high, but the panda coming up on the shoulders. But since the ball is behind it, because the wide receiver had to go forward, it feels like P-high, but the ball is behind. All right, so that's the most confusing answer to a yes or no question. He's saying I think it's PI, but I think what he's saying is I'm from Vegas, so I have to say it's from PI. I don't know, man. Listen,
Victoria, when you watch this angle, you know it is. Like, he doesn't start falling until he gets both his hands on his shoulder and fucks him.
Week 1, I threw 3 touchdown passes. If by your logic that what the calls that are called on the field, no, you're fine. You're fine, Justin. Wait till the corner list. You might be on it. You're still a shitty social media follow while your wife is giving birth. We don't need to be in the room with you. No, I'm just joking.
I love it.
I have
Chef,
to
keep doing you, baby.
No, yeah. I'm just a hater. So, and any hate is also validation. But my thing is here. What was the call on the field?
No call.
Interception. So guess what? That's what the call is. Just like when I threw my touchdowns,
100% right.
They were incomplete. So what the fuck am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to go out there and keep playing. I don't know.
You're 100% right. From a ref who had to be sat down at halftime and said, "Bro, are you watching the game or calling
by
the
you?"
Game?
Listen,
no.
if he settles his feet and makes an attempt vertically to catch the ball, and Kels goes through his body, it's an easy call to make, and it's obviously going to be pass interference.
So look at where I
look at what Justin Shepard what Justin Shepard says.
I'm not saying it's not a bad ball. Look, I'm not saying it's not a bad ball.
I'm saying it's not pass interference. And I think the takeaway from this play is that the corner on the opposite side of the field, covering another really good player, by the way, is coming across the field, which Scooter should not have to worry about a guy from 30 yards away making this interception. And it should be a one-on-one in which Munchie wins that every time. And if it's a true one-on-one, it's probably more likely going to be a pass interference call, if it is one. But guess what? Amir Chick Morris, after being owned on the previous touchdown from Munchie, comes over and gets it back in blood and makes one of the better interceptions by feel and by just savvy of the game, like knowing the game. Scott was locked in, threw it to his number one guy, and it was not a good read. You have to look off Amir
Look, I'll say all of those things are true while if Munchie isn't pushed down, it's a 1-on-2 and Munchie still comes down with the ball.
So if this is pass interference, then what you're saying is Munchie is a bitch that gets pushed down easily by a 137-pound guy.
Those are your words. I'm saying Munchie.
I don't know.
He both hands leverage on the guy's shoulder, knee in his butt, and feet tripping him. Got pushed down. Was not able to come back.
Listen, what does Munchie say all the time? He's saying like it's like 1,000 ball or whatever the stupid fucking game he says because he's better. Well, that time he wasn't better. Fucking make the catch. I don't know. Have your quarterback throw a better ball. It was a blowout. This play doesn't even matter. It was a blowout.
Give Dave Valley his flowers and close the show. That was pass interference. We'll move on.
Nah, that was the best way to eat up the rest of the time that we had left. Because listen, Dave Valley, nothing needs to be said. We showed him. We showed what Dave Valley can do. We saw it on Burton earlier when I said call the plumber.
Right.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Listen, when we talk about defensive backs, it'll be interesting to see if we have Kells in there. Because if Munchie's, we had it as the number 3 wide receiver and he had less receiving yards than Dondre Haynes at tight end. Kells, who obviously is a physical corner that can push that guy down. Maybe he's on our cornerback list, guys, which maybe be a good segue for our next show. Yeah. I don't know. Listen, contact from a corner on a wide receiver is always going to be scrutinized. My opinion, one way. Derek's opinion, the other way. Justin Shepard's opinion, a different way. I don't know. Look at this shitty throw.
Well, all I'm saying is watching this shit, Valley's balling out. He did an amazing job at the center.
Maybe the MVP of the league. Maybe the MVP of the league. Possibly. By the way, that last play, Smooth touched Campbell on this play, so this is pass interference too.
Probably.
Nah, let him play. Let him play. Look at that blowout. This game was such a fucking blowout. Why did BSE even show up? Look at Dave Valley. Oh no, that's Big Dippy with that. That's another good offensive line.
And Trey Robinson running the football.
Yes, good player.
And
look at that. Look at his old team.
And
he's saying very nice things. Very nice things. Anyway, so our top 7 offensive linemen, even though we were talking about the corner wide receiver situation.
Number 7.
Oos, Insomniacs.
Number 6.
Lugo, sick with it.
Number 5.
Deshaun Muggs Johnson. Patterson U.
Number 4.
The real Sin City Chaos, Jonathan Clark.
The no longer Sin City Chaos.
Yeah, they don't exist anymore.
Exactly.
They should have just kept their mouths shut and tried to beat Watchmen head to head without being assholes. But anyway, that's another take for another day.
Number 3.
So I don't butcher the man's.
Josiah Sal.
You know better than even I had to explain. By the way, Juice, maybe the best throw for the Insomniacs the entire game.
Number 2.
Kenny Mack. Insomniacs. And our
number 1.
offensive lineman of the 2024 A7FL season, Dave Valley from BIC. All right. That's a show, gentlemen.
It was. And to recap and talk about a great game and a great season and 7 really great guys that any of us as quarterbacks would love to have blocking for us on the line.
Give me 2 out of these, any 2 out of these 7 and give me a tight end, and I actually might win a game.
Yeah, and look, in this show right now, Corey, we got you quarterbacking and me and Dub blocking for you, so we'll take the credit for being your line tonight. Great job. Thank you so much. For those of you tuning in, thanks for having me on. I don't get to be on the show as frequently as I'd like. Chris, thanks for letting us know you were not going to be available, so I had the opportunity to ask my wife permission to be on the show tonight, and thank you to my lovely wife.
Shout out to Miss Jen
for allowing me to be on the show with you guys tonight. I can hear the baby being put down right now, so thank you guys. What a great night.
That's Scott McCorkle making a tackle right there. So just a preview for our fans. So listen, number 2 was Kenny Mack. And if the Vegas fans at home disagree, tell us in the comments, number 1. Maybe that will affect where he is placed in our A7FL top 50 coming up in the next upcoming weeks as we prepare for the Winter War, which I know, Dub, you're about to do the promo. But also, guys, next week, we got Cool Case on here watching. Do we want to do corners next week?
What's left? I mean, what else we got to do?
Corners, running backs.
We've been going
offense, defense, offense, defense. Nah, fuck these tight ends. They don't do shit except for DeAndre Haynes.
In the meantime, here is more about the Winter War coming to you January 5th, 2025.
Winter is coming. And he can make something magical happen here. And there goes the ball. It's going. It's going. You're a fan. Battles will be won. Hold on now.
At the 30, and he
Who's going to take victory?
And that's what championship points matter.
It's time for war.
Once again, that is coming to you January the 5th, 2025. The Fall Brawl has now become the Winter War. Gentlemen, final thoughts as we put a bone wrap on this on the eve of the Day of Giving Thanks.
Most important position was today. Offensive line is the most important position. That's why when you look at the champions in our league, they always have good offensive linemen, period, end of sentence. Look at the history and just look at the offensive lines that win it. Easy to see. Sign up at a7flnv.com. Now, next week.
I will mirror that sentiment for the boys who are building teams for Winter War. You need to go out and find new O-Linemen if you don't have one. Don't think you're going to come out and run a spread offense and even have a chance to really compete at the high level in this division. You need some hogs blogging the line for you. Go recruit. Recruiting within our group doesn't do you any good if we don't have those hogs already out there or they're already on other teams. You need to go out to the gyms, go out to the fields, find these dudes, bring them to the A7FL, bring them to your team, and have a chance to compete.
So the most important position is offensive line. I would say the most difficult position to play is next week in the corners, because in 11-on-11 football, more traditional football that people are aware of, even flag, a lot of times there's that safety help or you can play a zone coverage and you can hide. In the A7FL, it's strictly almost always man coverage, nowhere to hide if you're playing corner. So if you want to see some of the most talented guys in our league, tune in next week. We do the top 7 corners of the 2024 A7FL season. Justin Cool Case Shepard might be one of them.
Look, he was my corner when we played with the Lions, so he's got my vote. Shep's that dude.
In the meantime, enjoy the holiday with your loved ones. Don't forget about the less fortunate. Again, be thankful that you have what you have, and just enjoy the day and just enjoy the time to be reflectful, thankful, and also right now, once we get off the air, please go check out our good buddies, our good friends, the All Pro Jaffos. They are live right now on Jaffos TV. So once we get off the air, please go check out the All Pro Jaffos with EJ Wizzle, JP, and my co-host, Missile, right now on Jaffos TV on the Jaffos TV YouTube channel. So for Derek Duncan, for Corey Hammond, for Chris Vera, who's on assignment, and for Scott McCorkle, who is somewhere in Asgard.
Chef, go live. I'm a hater. Just do it in my face anyway. Go ahead, Dub. I'm sorry. I just had to answer before the show goes off.
I'm Double A. Thank you for everybody for watching as we say happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. Enjoy the day tomorrow. Don't get into fights on Black Friday. And we'll see you on the other side of the ball. Good night.